Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As usual, how are my peeps doing? Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Thank God it's Friday. We are starting today. First person in the house is El Señor Michael Rutnan today. Second person in the house, Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Michael is, of course, from Brooklyn, New York. We also have in the house with us this afternoon, Billy Allison Irwin. Hello from Summerwood. And we have Bridge MCP from La Hermosa, Binghamton, New York. We also have in the house Edward, or who's that? Edward Peña. ¿Qué pasó, mi hermano favorito? Edward Peña, he finally spelled his name correctly. And as well, Paul Fleming. Edward is from Houston, Texas, and we have Paul Fleming from from Powder Springs, Georgia. Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas. Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita. All right, folks, we are going to have a good program for you today. Let me start with the first person that says, Egberto, could you put this on the screen? Egberto, NBC News poll on the screen. It's often interesting to see where the views of those in power vary from that of the American people. It's such a stark distinction. And here it goes, Mr. Rudnan. There we see. Here we go. There we go on the screen. Ukraine, 61% of people favor Ukraine over the 2% that favor Russia. Of course, 35% favor neither. And we have Trump sympathies in the war. Ukraine, 8%. Russia, 49%. Neither. That's Trump sympathies in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Interesting, isn't it? You're absolutely right, brother. You're absolutely right. What else have we got here? Anything else that I need to show in that link? Oh, that is a caption of that argument. Anyway, folks, so thank you for that, Brother Rudnan. That is good stuff. That is good stuff as usual. All right, let's continue with the program. Let's see what else I've got to read here. But he says, no, Michael, it would have worked on Twitch either. Okay, I don't know what your personal discussion between Breach and Michael. Lee Grant is in the house from Montgomery County. And Jay Ray says he's roaring. He came in with a roar. Thank God it's Friday. Yes, it is. Anyway, folks, the first thing I want to play for you before we get into one of our Congress people here, town halls are what they're doing. But I did a piece this morning on the Constitution that I actually want to play for you guys. So let me start by playing that one, and then we'll go into Dan Crenshaw and what he did. In as much as he was in a closed session, he even screwed up in the closed session. A lot of people did to originally see it. But how do we know that? Well, he's talking. Welcome aboard, Joe from Los Angeles, California. Joanne, how are you doing, beautiful? I made myself afraid as soon as I said TGIG because now Trump does crazy things on weekends. I know. Patrick Magner is in the house from Houston, Texas. He says meow. And Melanie Keelan has joined us from Barcelona, Spain. Thank you for being here, our beautiful Mademoiselle Melanie Keelan from Barcelona. All right, let's go ahead and do what I did this morning, and then we'll move on from here. Alistair Waters is in the house. I think later on, Alistair, you should call in and advertise that important piece that you did. I am calling you to lecture you. Let me know when. Okay, if you're calling me to lecture me, why not start with a lecture? So give me a call right now and lecture me, Patrick Magner. lecture me, please. Lecture me. Call in. This platform belongs to you guys. So you take precedence over what I do. Now, if there's something that I absolutely want you to hear, then I'll go ahead and, kind of push you a while and say, hey, hold on a second, let me get this out. But I'm waiting for your call, Patrick. Come on, call on in. You're the one who started it. You wanted to lecture me. Call on in. 10, 9, 8. There you go. Brother Patrick, lecture your big brother.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. I love you, but I can't let you get away with some things. Brian called in today.
Yeah.
You remember? And
yes, I do.
He talked to you about the violence towards Tesla.
Yes.
Now, I've told you a bunch of times that I appreciate when you stand up for yourself and for the rest of us, but you don't do it often enough. And I've told you one of the ways that they do this is they sneak in premises.
Okay.
And what Brian did this morning was he called in and then he started saying how the people from the left are vandalizing Teslas. So you said that we shouldn't be doing that and you don't condone it. What should have happened there was you should have stopped him and you should have asked him what evidence he has that people from the left are doing this. He snuck in a premise, and now everybody has in the back of their mind that is being done by people from the left. And
you know what? I'm going to stop you right there and tell you that you're right. Like I tell you, when you're in the heat of the moment and you're hearing certain things, and I can be susceptible to that as well, which I was. You're absolutely right. And I tell you what, I'm going to ask my posse to do this. And you're my posse. I'm going to tell you, please, on Monday, remember to call in the morning and force me to point that out, because you're absolutely right. You're not going to get an argument out of me.
I'll do that. And what we're doing here is I'm just trying to help you spot that. Because you do think very quickly on your feet, much faster than I do. It takes me 24 hours oftentimes to put stuff together to have a conversation, and you're fast. But I believe that some of these guys are scripted and that these guys are being trained. I've little doubt that Brian makes money off of this. And so he's got guidelines, and they're trying several different ways to get around you and get you to trip up, and that's one of them. And I just want you to start looking for them sneaking in premises.
I accept that. I do accept that, and like I said, I like the idea of when I think you've caught me on this about 3 or 4 times, and I think also good old brother Johnny has caught me on that. And what happens? Just to make a little excuse for myself, is in trying to keep the conversations going. Sometimes I let things slide. Sometimes sometimes I let too much slide. So guilty as charged.
It's going to happen, but we're working on making it happen less. And I appreciate the correction this morning. The date was 2014. It was the Supreme Court. Can you tell me what the decision name was again, so I can write it down?
It is McCutcheon. McCutcheon versus SEC, I believe, or SEC versus McCutcheon.
Can you give me a spelling?
Oh, wow. You would do that to me, wouldn't you?
Well, I can't spell it.
Hey,
I can't spell it. You're better in a second language than I am in my first. So.
Hey, listen, brother, let me tell you this. Let me tell you what I did. It is spelled the following: McCutcheon. And the only reason I got that correctly is because I put it in Google, and Google said, Egberto, you SOB, you spelled it wrong. This is how it's done.
Perfect.
Okay, so it is SEC versus McCutcheon. Let me click on that to make sure that I gave it to you correctly. Yeah, it is okay. Federal Election Commission Act versus so it is a McCutcheon one. Okay.
Okay, and I genuinely appreciate any time you correct me, because I learned from it. Thank you very much. Hey,
it's an exchange, brother. We correct each other, but thank you so kindly for calling in, brother.
All right, thank you. You want to say hi? No, I'll check you. All right. All right.
All right.
See you later.
Hey, tell Penny I says hi, okay?
He's right here. I'm hearing you.
All right, Pena. Amigo mío, we'll talk later. Let me play the thing I did this morning on the Constitution. Thank you, guys, on the Constitution
Perfecto.
this morning. I want to play this. Here we go, folks. Because I'm not going to play the part where I talked about Panama and all of that, because that got too long and I'm a bit too personal. But let me go ahead and do the part on the Constitution. We've had a marginal constitution for so long with people who wanted to have a good thing that it lasted. It lasted because people were willing to just go ahead and forget about the flaws and live within it. Glenn Ryan is on the chat right now. Welcome. Glenn points out, the Constitution is flawed. Don't forget there was something called the 3/5 compromise. I know you won't bring up the 3/5 compromise that we eventually voted out. That is where somebody like me was only 3/5 of a person. So the Constitution did have all these problems, but we lived through it because in the aggregate, people were good. In the aggregate, people were humane. Yeah, we had issues there. We treat women not in the right ways, that we had to then eventually create amendments for that. We had to create amendments for citizenship, all that good stuff. But we were working towards doing good things, but a lot of the problems remained. We never had a president that was willing to, and people like to say he wants to test the Constitution. He doesn't want to test the Constitution, Donald Trump, that is. He wants to destroy the Constitution and use the powers of the United States to be a grifter, to be what he wants to be, to do what he wants to do. And he has a whole lot of a support cast that is willing and able, because that support cast expects to get a whole lot more out of the grifting of the American people than he does. So the Constitution was made in a manner that they thought at its inception would protect against somebody like him. Unfortunately, in order to do that, every branch of government that is supposed to be a co-equal branch of government has to do its job. And given that, and by the way, the co-equal segments of government has always been a myth. The most powerful part of the Supreme Court, most powerful part of our government, if the letter of the law were to be practiced, is really the Supreme Court. And I did a video on that I've played here several times, because again, the Supreme Court, the Congress creates laws. The president executes the laws created by the Supreme Court. The president can't create law. Okay, but the president is supposed to execute laws within that the Congress passes, and any executive order that he passes must also pass the legality of the Congress, because it's only the Congress's role to create laws. And the Supreme Court is there to determine if any law Congress creates and that a president signs is constitutional. And that seems to work if everybody abides by that rule. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court as the most powerful leg in this supposedly co-equal parts of government doesn't have any way to enforce its ruling. And when I say Supreme Court, I'm talking about not only Supreme Court, but Circuit Court, District Court, etc. That goes I'm talking federal courts that go all the way below the Supreme Court levels, etc. They have no way to enforce their ruling. So it has always been that the way we work as a government is we created this Constitution and everybody agrees to abide by the Constitution. And if a judge were to say, all right, you are in contempt of court, you're now under arrest, then that is done. Well, imagine with what's happening right now, if John Roberts, the Supreme Court Chief Justice, and the rest of the Supreme Court comes out and says, okay, the Secretary of State or the Secretary of Commerce or one of the people working under Trump decides that the judge decides they're in contempt. And he says, okay, you will be thrown into jail for 10 days or for a month or until you abide by our ruling. Guess who is supposed to lock him up? The executive is the one who enforces
that. And who is the executive again? Oh my God, it's Donald Trump. And if he doesn't do it, right, supposedly it's an impeachable offense that Congress should be able to take out the president. But wait a minute. We have a co-opted Congress that has ceded its power to the president. So now we have purported two co-equal segments of government currently screwing all Americans. Because if they don't act, and by the way, it takes 2/3 of them to act, well, 50% to impeach him, 2/3 to convict him in the Senate. If they don't act, what happens again? Nothing. Is this a constitutional crisis that we're marching towards? Yes, actually, I think we are already in a constitutional crisis. And the reason we're in a constitutional crisis, you know how you know that? That these law firms that do governmental work are now starting to make deals with the president so that he doesn't freeze them out of government. Folks, what's occurring at the top right now are for those of us who are on, all of this can happen because all of this is behind the scenes, and most Americans are so busy going to work. They're busy taking care of their kids. They're busy trying to make enough money to survive as this power machine in Washington continues to grind. Unfortunately, the ultimate results of all of this will pain all of us. And the subjects that I'm covering today, as far as let me just tell you the title of the show today, because this is based off of Howard's rant, okay? But today's title is Why Do Wealthy CEOs Love Trump? And Lutnick urging Fox viewers to buy Tesla stock. Two subjects that ties perfectly into what happens when you have the corrupted government. And now all of us as Americans that are not the billionaire class, we are the cogs in the entire system used as just again. Remember when I used that term that we are all now antiseptic slaves? Many people took offense at that. In fact, we had a caller that wanted to make sure I'm not a slave, I don't even have the pigmentation to be a slave. I hope you realize that none of that ever mattered. All the way even back into the days of chattel slavery. None of that really mattered. It was all a myth. It was all a tool. It was all a myth. It was all a tool. I want to tackle something. First, Michael wants me to point out something to Eric, and that is, Eric, he says the following. Eric, the burning of Teslas at car dealership hasn't been proven to be left-wing arsonists, which is what Patrick Magner pointed out. More likely are cases of insurance fraud as nobody is buying those cars anymore. Add in Lee the Bearcat, what mugshot? One of the three arrested shouted a pro-Ukrainian message. No real info on the other two. Very, very, again, I am glad when I'm called out the way Patrick, and right now as well, with even the statement that brother Michael is doing. Now I want to call out, let's see, something that our brother Lee Grant said. He says, Egberto, why didn't you emigrate to a country with a constitution you approve of rather than voluntarily come into the United States, then complain about its legal structure? Okay, I have several answers to that, but let me give you the main answer, okay? Number one, let me first come out with a categorical answer. I'm an American citizen and I migrated here. You're an American citizen and your descendants migrated here. None of us have an inalienable right to the United States of America. And my dear brother, all of you in there that listens to my accent or whatever and think that for some reason I am going to be subjugative because I was born elsewhere, that'll never happen. I feel myself just as American as any born American or anybody else. The only difference that I have that is a constitutional thing is that I cannot be president of the United States, or anybody born outside can be president. Of course, that's now debatable since Elon Musk seems to be the functional president of the United States, having been born in South Africa's apartheid system, etc. Now, secondly, let me address you with regards to why don't I go to a place with a constitution that is better or whatever? Well, no, the advertised country that came and took advantage of the country of my birth was America, and I learned about the ability to move forward in America, so I came. People who are upwardly mobile don't have a problem coming to a place where that upward mobility can afford them certain things. So that's what I did. Thirdly, you should reward all of those who want to make a system better for all of us. It is closed-minded to simply say, I want to be insular. And you know what? My second video is going to touch on that, because guess who else did that? Today in his Dan Crenshaw, in his town hall that was segregated from the rest of us, did just that. Egberto Willies, when you take the oath becoming a citizen, you swear to the Constitution. Ask Eric when he did that. He never did. And probably that's why they know so little about the Constitution. You know what? I should have cut the other piece that I did earlier this morning about having gone to school in Panama, having had to learn not only world geography, but American-specific geography, history, and government, Panamanian-specific government history and geography. Something that Eric, you can only dream about, brother. Okay? So please, whenever you guys, any one of you right-wingers that try to attack me for having been a naturalized citizen and go elsewhere, no, if you don't like what I'm doing, you go elsewhere. Please, because I can, we want to have a country that supports all of us. And by the way, if you want to know a better constitution, try South Africa. I suggest you do a comparison of the South African Constitution and the American Constitution. The American Constitution is a property rights document, while the South African Constitution take our total societal being into consideration. Now, one other thing, if you doubt that, the reason we needed the Bill of Rights, and again, I'm instructing my right-wing brothers who like to carry the flag on their shoulder and wrap themselves around the flag, but know very little about that flag. Most of you that are singing glory, glory, hallelujah, know little about the country you were born in. Most of us foreigners, most of the slaves, most of these others know more about this country than many of our right-wingers who are here. Mike Cisak knows little about his own country. Eric Hayes knows little about the country. Listen to what they say, and you realize how little they know about the country. Did you know that the founding fathers weren't Americans? They talk as if these guys are godly. They think these guys were deity when half of them weren't. But EJMCP is correct. Europeans know more about the U.S. than the citizens here. Absolutely so. Does the South African Constitution enshrine the kill the Boer song? Wow, no. But the American Constitution talks about. But the American Star Spangled Banner talks about killing the slaves, or not killing the slaves, but then making sure the slaves remain enslaved. That is who we are. That is who we are. Okay? So let's be very, very clear here. All right. Anyway, let me just put some context onto it, Lee Grant. And Lee Grant, for making that comment, I'm waiting for a super chat, man. All right. Check this out. I want you to listen to what Crenshaw had to say in his thing about conservatives and progressives. This is rather important. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. Texas State Representative Dan Crenshaw had his town hall today, but it was one of those closed town halls because you know what? Everybody who wanted to see it could see it. But of course, they only had questions from controlled people. You know how I know it? All our people in this district were trying to find out how to go see Dan Crenshaw's town hall, but they couldn't find anything other than today he's going to give one, and it's done over the internet. Of course, in the room where he's at, there are selected people asking him questions, so you know the question shouldn't be difficult and he should be ready. Well, here is one. When they asked him about, they got into the discussion about trans, and you know how the Republicans and MAGA deal with the trans issue. They blow it out of proportion and make it seem like we are going through a time where trans have taken over the Democratic Party, and trans people, there's something wrong with them, and somehow, they really blow it up. But then he makes the mistake, in my humble opinion, to define what progressives are. And in the process, he tries to demean progressives. But what I think he actually did with this clip that I have here, and this is a contiguous clip that I have here, a very short clip. What he does is he shows the closed nature of conservatism as they practice it. It shows that conservatives just means, well, listen to it and then we'll take it on the other side.
What's great about being a conservative is you tend to have your belief systems that live in a box. That's the whole point. They conserve. They're not supposed to change radically. The thing about being a progressive is it's like progress. Well, you can keep progressing into all directions, into nowhere.
So again, he said it best. Progressives are looking for learning, moving on, learning, expanding our horizons. Sometimes it takes us into places that we might need to come back on, but ultimately it's a matter of growth. It's a matter of making lives better for people, because in that conservative domain, that closed circle, think about that closed circle when conservatism meant not doing anything about civil rights. Think about when conservatism meant not doing anything about women's rights. Think about what conservatism meant when it did nothing about the disabled. Think about what conservatism meant when it meant letting people starve, letting people be poor and die suffering without social security and all these safety social nets, because you want to conserve the status quo. You want to conserve the way things are. He may have thought that he was ridiculing progressives, but what he did is made conservatives look exactly as we see within the MAGA base, within the leaders of the MAGA base. And that is a closed-minded, hurtful ideology that cannot survive. And it will not survive. Brother Wagner is back. Brother Wagner is back on. Talk to me, sir.
Yeah. First, we'll touch on the comment about the citizenship and why you didn't move somewhere else. The Constitution wasn't as much in crisis when you moved here to begin with. And then I believe probably with some things that happened with your family that you were motivated away from a high-paying job to running your own business where you might be getting by because the amount of love you have for this country, you don't want to see it lost. You're putting all your free time into this country. You're educating people, and you're trying to help the underdogs, the majority of the population that have the least amount of help and the least amount of care for them. I don't see how anybody could be more patriotic than that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I honestly appreciate that, because those are my sentiments. I tell you, brother, and a lot of people don't believe me when I say this, but when I gave up Willies Computer Software Company, and honestly, it was at its peak, but I was tired of it. I wanted to do something better and was constantly looking up in the sky. I remember my daughter, my wife could tell you, and saying, somebody needs to do something. Somebody needs to do something. And one night it was like, we're always talking about somebody need to do something. Get off your you know what, you know? So I appreciate you for saying that, brother.
Yeah, if it wasn't for you and people like you fighting, things would be much worse now. And it's the degree in which you oppose these things, or the degree in which you are free. I believe that entirely, and you're fighting for everybody's freedom that's listening to this right now, and I appreciate that. And I also wanted to touch a little bit on the trans thing, since it was brought up in the last video. I'm not sure how many people are aware of this, but there are a number of sports that have mixed gender because there's not enough girls in it for them to compete. And one of them is Greco-Roman wrestling, all the way up to the age of 18. I don't see anybody getting upset about boys and girls wrestling each other unless they've made a decision about their gender. Another thing too is that in many cultures, and I've sent you some emails on this, many cultures, India is one of them, transgenders were worshipped. And it wasn't until the West moved in India, it was the British, that they found any hate, and they brought hate over with them, and India changed their mind on how they saw the trans culture. They were revered up until the white man got there.
I've got to go ahead and look up what you said because, like I said, I'm in email hell, so a lot of things fall through the crack. But I want to find out. I want to read up on that because, let me tell you, I've always talked about my original sin when I got to the country, my sexism and my homophobia and how I got over it. And I still have, I've atoned, I've made sure and done that, but I still have that recessive guilt, right? And if somebody catches me saying something I always try to overcorrect or self-correct or whatever I need to do because there are certain things. But I didn't know that. I mean, and that got permeated all through Latin America, man. All through Latin America, because it is bad in Latin America. It is bad in the Caribbean. So
the white Spanish are probably the ones that brought it over.
Right.
The hate, that is.
Right.
But yeah, I have somebody that I really love in my life that was a huge influence to me. And he discovered late in life, a psychologist had to tell him, and he hates himself now. And the reason why is it's because of how this society is treating everybody. He was successful, and he's miserable. He doesn't even leave the house anymore, and he doesn't know how to handle it.
Right. Well, I tell you
this is what we're doing to these people.
You got to tell him, man, get out there because we have his back. We will continue to have his back. And I think that's important for us to, when I end my program, you hear how I end my program about love. I am still of the impression that a lot of people, especially those that promote so much hate, it is a lack of love. Those that think they have to hate the other. And, I really try to push that. But anyway, I need to go to another video. So thank you so kindly, my dear brother. And look, you warm my heart. Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking my call. Have a great day.
You too, brother. All right, let me read a couple of things before I move on. Let's see. We got Michael says, replying to Michael, I could have posted this more expansive version, but they probably wouldn't appreciate the color scheme. What is it now that you want me to post, Radnin? Oh, Black Lives Matter. Privacy is a human right. Oh, actually, I like that. I'm going to pause for a couple of minutes to put that out. I like that. I'm sorry. I like that. You see, you guys are abusing me. You know that you have precedence. Ray Brackens, you guys have precedence. Oh, it looks like another one.
Yeah,
Hold on.
I just caught a glimpse on it.
All right, let me connect these calls. All right, I've got two calls on, and I don't know who they are. I just merged it. I think, Ray, you go first.
Okay, I know you got a video in queue, so I'm going to keep it quick. Now, I heard Dan Crenshaw say, being a conservative is great because you have this little box and you have everything inside of that box that you want to conserve. And then progressives, we just want to progress on things, and it's like we have no end. You know what? It's not about progressing with no end. It's about taking that box of things that we've worked hard for and making that box bigger. and
Yes, thank
constantly
you.
replacing that box with a bigger box to include everything and everybody who didn't have rights and who didn't have a navigation to success in this society. We want to take that box. We want to make sure we stuff everything inside that box to integrate with everything y'all believe in. But make no mistake about it, there are certain things we want outside of that box, like racism and sexism and all general bigotry of anybody and any marginalized group of people in this particular society. And I'm going to yield back on that. Thank you, young lady.
You nailed it. Now I have a wireless caller with no name on it. Wireless caller, you come in now. Okay, there's another person on the line. Come on. Whoever it is.
Me?
Yeah, that's you. Who am I? Who? Yes, I can. Who am I speaking to?
This is Melissa.
Melissa, talk to me, sister. Talk to me.
So I'm trying to get Magda to get on a new mission. Instead of complaining about, all of these nonchalant things, let's get to real facts. The ERP, known as the Europe Marshall Plan.
Yes.
U.S. contributed $30 billion for post-World War II funding, right, to rebuild Europe. That's estimated now to $175 billion in American tax dollars that should be recapped back for citizens that paid into taxes to rebuild. Let's ask for that money back. Like, get your president to get on the ball and give us that money back. And then that way we can fund whatever it is that we're trying to fund. I mean, just on the recouping of taxpayer American dollars. Let's just get that part back. Can we get a new mission?
It is amazing that we have that issue that, let me be honest with you. I haven't done any research on that, figured that out or anything yet. But, hey, we've given a lot of money to a whole lot of countries that later on do well. I'll have to calculate and figure out how that goes, Melissa. But, hey, that's a thought.
Thank you.
But look, hey, sister and Ray, I need to play this video. I want you guys to see. And another call was trying to come in. Let's do it after the video. I want you guys to listen to this video or watch this video, and then we'll take it on the other side. Okay?
All right. Oh, and love that flag, by the way.
I know. Michael Rudden always finds some good stuff. All right, here we go with the video. There's a clip from Dan Crenshaw's town hall, and remember, his town hall was the people who could go and ask questions on the town hall evidently were invited guests only. None of us. I am one of his constituents. I tried like hell. People were giving me calls about where can we go for his town halls. None of us could find it. It turned out it was just for the rest of us to watch on Facebook or YouTube, and select people were asking questions at his town hall. Nobody knows where it was or anything like that. Okay, but anyhow, you can actually infer based on what you hear at these town halls, even if the town hall is from a friendly audience. And that is exactly what happened today. There is a senior at that town hall that asked a very specific question on Social Security to Dan Crenshaw, Representative Texas 2. All right. I want to break it up this way. It starts out by asking, can we really believe that Donald Trump is going to ensure that Social Security recipients who make a certain amount don't pay taxes on Social Security? Dan Crenshaw says, I think you can forget it. For which the guy who, voted for Donald Trump says, yeah, that's what I thought. In other words, they knew the man was lying about no taxes on Social Security, and Dan Crenshaw confirmed it. And then he said, we're struggling. The older guy said, we're struggling, with the stock market falling and all that good stuff. I want you to hear how Crenshaw responded to him. And then I want to reinterpret what Crenshaw said, because you have got to not just listen to the words, but listen to the genesis of the words and behind what he actually means. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Appreciate you representing us. President Trump talked about no tax on Social Security income. You kind of give us a flavor of what's really going on the congressional as it relates to Social Security income.
Yeah. Don't get your hopes up on that one.
I didn't think so, but I wanted to get some idea where we're at because, seniors are struggling, losing money in the stock market, losing, we're living longer. We're trying to stretch our money out.
Okay. So on reconciliation, we just legally can't touch Social Security. So luckily I don't have to give an opinion on it because we can't do it anyway. It's always been, I'll tell you the debate though, like the pros and cons. It's like on the one hand, you want to help seniors. On the other hand, well, what about everybody else? Because why are you special? So it's a tough issue when you talk about any single group all of a sudden just not paying taxes. That's, is that really fair? Is that going to be fair to my generation? Because I'll tell you what, where Social Security is going right now, it's going great for you. It's not going great for me. So, we haven't had our chance to be in the stock market like you have since 1970. So it has gone up quite a bit since then. The Social Security debate, which is going to be a major one when it goes insolvent in the next 10 years. It shouldn't be a left-right debate, although everything turns out that way. It should be a generational debate. It should be the younger generation talking to the older generation. Hey, what are you going to give and what am I going to give? Should I really retire at 67? No, I should not. I should retire later. That's what my generation should give. But both generations going to have to give something. That's the honest conversation about Social Security. But in the short term, nothing's happening to Social Security and reconciliation because legally it can't. That's part of the reconciliation rules. So no one's touching it any way, shape, or form.
First of all, Dan Crenshaw points out something that is partially true, right? The Social Security issue is sort of a generational thing. It shouldn't be, but because of the way it is spoken about, it's like pitting the old against the young, etc. It should be, but that's what they do. So he looks at the guy and says, why are you so special? I am a young guy. And, Social Security is good for you, but it's probably not good for me. So you can already see that intergenerational fight between Crenshaw and the senior citizen. Why are you so special is what Crenshaw asked one of his fellow Republicans, that you think you deserve X, Y, and Z. Forget about it. Okay. He said, after all, don't forget, you had all this time to build your money up in the stock market, Crenshaw tells the guy, right? Again, that is myopic. That is tunnel vision. Most Americans never got all those years to build some external fund plus Social Security. Most of these people are just there to survive. Some people live solely on Social Security, not because they couldn't, they were lousy with their money. They just never made enough to save. I've showed you the charts that showed that American wages have been stagnant for over 40 years. American wages have not been going up stuff relative to inflation, relative to productivity, relative to anything else. And Crenshaw is not a dumb guy. He knows that. But then he says, but remember anyway, Mr. Old Man, the current budget can't really touch Social Security because it's a reconciliation. And for us to change Social Security, it takes 60 votes. You know what? He's technically correct on that. But you know why they're not messing with Elon Musk? Elon Musk is decimating how Social Security is run. He's closing offices. He's forcing older folks, disabled folks, or anybody else to have to find an office to register for their Social Security. What? Again, many people don't realize is there are sections of this country, deep rural areas, deep on the mountain in the Appalachia, deep in the rural areas of Arizona, deep in the mountains of Montana. All these places that folks won't have easy access to go ahead and get what they've earned, get the benefits that they are entitled to because they've earned it, not entitled to just because of entitlements, because that's not what it is. It's an earned benefit, right? So with Musk making it so difficult to talk to somebody on the phone, to actually get your disability or whatever it is that you're going to get, what do you think that does? That there's a certain percentage of Americans that will fall through the cracks. So without going through a 60-vote majority in the Senate, A lot of people will not get the Social Security that they're entitled to get because of the access they have to file to get their Social Security. You know, when we talk about Doge and efficiencies and all of that, if we're really smart about it, since we just about know where everybody lives and what everybody's Social Security is, we could automatically start sending out benefits without people have to go into offices, etc., right? But we don't. We don't. So when he speaks about your Social Security is safe because it needs, first of all, not because he wants it to be safe, but because to do any changes to Social Security requires 60 votes in the Senate, and there isn't anywhere close to 60 votes in the Senate to get that done. So the other way that Trump, Musk, and his criminals want to do it is simply to force you not to take your earned benefits by making it extraordinarily difficult for you to get it. So he lied. I mean, he technically told the truth, but as far as acting out, as far as functional, you won't be able to get or many won't be able to get their Social Security. But, you know, within all of that he said, there is something that I want you guys to listen to in detail. He talks about the compromise between younger people and older people for Social Security. This shouldn't be a left or right issue, he says. He's right. It shouldn't be a left and right issue. This should be an issue. This is an intergenerational issue. We, the young generation, are going to have to give up something, and you guys are going to have to give up something. Remember, the something you guys are going to have to give up, he hasn't said, but it is onerous. But let me tell you, it's onerous in two directions. When he tells the younger people that they will have to retire at an older age. So instead of retiring at 67, and by the way, many can retire at 62, but instead of retiring at 67, you may have to go to 70, 71, 72. You know what that does? Man, the people who depend on Social Security, the people who will most need Social Security are the people who work very hard, manual labor, constant labor, the people that are mostly sick, etc. And what you're telling those people is they're going to have to work maybe another 5 years, maybe another 3, whatever it is. You're taking off the life. You're taking the life out of these people, because a lot of these people will die before they collect anything after having paid into Social Security their entire lives. We need not think about Social Security as a savings account or something like that. Social Security is a pact with society where we give a standard, a marginal standard of living, a humane standard of living to anybody who reaches retirement age. And the pact that we make with society is that you work during all of your life, and in your latter years, starting at 62 for some, if you are willing to collect a little bit less money, or at 67, then at that point you can live on Social Security. If you're able to save a bit more and all of that, you can have a better life. But we at least give you a humane existence after the age of 62, up to 67. People, Crenshaw had a lot to say. And even as he didn't allow questions to come from his real constituents, but instead from select constituents, his ideology shined through. It showed who he really is. He showed who the MAGA conservatives really are. And it is something you better be cognizant of. Older folks, you're at risk. Younger folks, you're at risk. The only folks that are protected are those folks who will get Social Security that don't really need Social Security. You see, those people will live fine. So if the number goes up to 72, that's fine. That's icing on the cake. We have to understand what they're doing to us. And even if they close their town halls, once you can listen to what they're saying and read in between the lines, you've got it, baby. Read between the lines. A lie isn't necessarily what comes out of your mouth. A lie can also be what you meant by what came out of your mouth. Absolutely so. Absolutely so. I want to show you what a Christian God-fearing MAGA person that my brother Eric Hayes has to say. Social Security is not for those that did not pay in punto final. And he spelled it wrong, of course. But here's the thing. I want you guys to think about that. That is a purported Christian speaking, not understanding or unable to empathize that this capitalist system has left 80% of people behind. But because he's in that top 20% and likely higher than that, he could not possibly see how his own brothers and sisters in Appalachia lives. He cannot see all these people that are in pain. Because again, it is always what I can do. Remember what I talked about, the Constitution being a property document and an individualistic document? That's what I'm talking about. By the way, we're live now and I can actually take calls now. But we have about 4 minutes of calls we can take. So think about that, folks. Think about that. J. Ray says, sorry, Egberto, but every time I see Dan Crenshaw, he boils my eggs with his evil Cyclops-looking ass. Jay says, I might hate him a little bit more than Trump sometimes. Yeah, but think about that. Think about that, folks. Anyway, look, like I always say, most people are good. Alistair Waters is in the house. Alistair, how you doing, sister?
Hey, brother, I'm good. Okay, sorry I'm cutting it in late. Not only does Eric not even think about his brothers and sisters in Appalachia, he doesn't consider his brothers and sisters in his own damn backyard. So, now, on to my next subject. House Bill 32 is being presented here in Texas as a bill that would make it harder. This is the story, is that it would make it harder for people to squat in unoccupied real estate. That's what they're trying to sell people. What the bill rewritten when it went in the committee rewrote it. It was rewritten saying no due process for anyone that receives an eviction notice.
Oh, wow.
Also, some people.
Hold on a second, Alistair.
Some people, it might not bother some people.
No, Alistair, hold a second. All right, whoever is calling from 346, hold a minute. Let Alistair finish. Continue, Alistair.
Okay, so not only do they not receive due process in an eviction, which a lot of people are like, big deal, no big deal. Nobody needs due process if you're breaking the law. But, it's supposed to be, innocent until proven guilty, but nobody believes that anymore, right? So that's just a minor part of it. The big picture, it will defund if this law goes into effect, if this bill goes into effect and becomes law. It will defund any organization, whether it's a church or a domestic violence shelter or that gives information or legal advice or anything relating to any kind of where to look for any kind of information on what your rights are. If any of those organizations get public funds, they will be shuttered. Those public funds will be removed. That means a woman that has left her abusive husband, her name is legally on the lease, and the husband lives there, and she left, but she can't get off the lease because she can't get legal advice or representation from someone, because guess what? She has minimal money. She would qualify for pro bono or low income legal aid.
Okay,
but Alistair, she can't get it because they would lose their money.
Alistair, let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to have to. You said it is House Bill 32, right?
Yep, and there is an accompanying Senate bill by Betancourt wrote.
I will do some research on that and see what we can do about that as well. But Alistair, I need to make. We only have a couple minutes left, and I need to get 2 other people to speak. So let me ask 346.
Yep.
Whoever is at 346, say your piece, please, real quick, 30 seconds.
This is Harry Dempson, and I'm going to say my piece. Hey, Egberto. Borrow, buy, die. I mentioned that to you on your morning show last year. The people that need Social Security are borrow, buy, die, who are saved, as you just mentioned there a little while ago. They pass it on to their descendants, and the working people get screwed. And Bernie, keep up the good work. You and AOC, get out there and keep fighting for working people. And listen to MAGA people. All you people who are MAGA, who are working class people, living paycheck to paycheck. Tell that to Elon Musk, Donald Trump, because they don't care that you live paycheck to paycheck and that you won't get your social safety net because they're
Thank you, Harry. Okay, Harry, I got to give Joe a chance to speak. Joanne from California. Give me a talk. Thank you, brother. Come on in, Joanne.
A quick true story about 2 dogs I had, and it represents what's happening right now because I have to finish time. So one dog was really smart. The other one was average smart. But the one that was smart was like 2025, had a team of intelligence. So this is what I did. I gave the dog a phone. The one that was smart looked at the other dog who had the phone.
Can you hear me,
and
Alan?
was very upset. Can you hear me?
Alan?
Yeah. Hang up the phone now.
Okay,
Harry, you got to hang the phone up. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Okay.
So the dog that wanted the other dog's phone went over and did tricks, rolled over, jumped up, shook, rolled over backwards, did circles. And the one dog was so stunned. This is a true story. Was so stunned about what the other dog was doing, the smarter one, that he dropped the bone and went into like a trap. So the smart dog grabbed the bone, ran back to her corner, and now had 2 bones. And the other dog came out of a trance, looked around and sniffed around and said, "Where did my bone go?" That's where we are. And that's what
exactly.
That was the craziest dog thing I ever saw.
But you know what? I need to go, but I want to put a corollary to that story.
Thank you.
You know that they have this. There's this story about having a cookie, and the rich guy take 10 cookies, and he leaves 1 cookie for the other 9 to split. I didn't say it right, but it's a similar story. Anyway, folks, I got to get out of here.
Disconnected the line.
All right, I got to get out of here. I want to thank all of you all for staying here with us. It got a little while on the back end with the calls and me trying to manage those calls a little bit better. But look, thank you guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. My ask is that you please support the program however you can. And I want to ask you to support the program by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com, that newsletter, and please become a paid subscriber if you have the opportunity to. It's about a cup of coffee, and I know if you guys saw Politics Done Right out there anywhere, you'll say, "Hey, I'll get you a cup of coffee." Please support us however you can. We're doing some important work. I love you all of you, MAGA and alls. You hear me, Eric? Folks, but we got to get together and solve these problems. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want.